Hello there, viewers, and welcome. Thank you for always being there with us. It is that program, the Catholic program called Everything Catholic. Here, we discuss issues of faith as long as it is Catholic. I remain your anchorman and priest always, Reverend Father Boniface Nebel, and as usual with me is...
I'm Father Silvanus Ame. Welcome to the program today.
We are continuing our discussion on the Sacrament of Holy Matrimony, marriage. And as we make progress, today we have with us very distinguished personalities, and Catholics themselves who have been into the business of not just being married, but still staying married, and at the same time, they're instructors of marriage courses in their respective parishes in the Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja, Nigeria. First, we have Mr. Dan Achimugu. Mr. Daniel is the coordinator of the Family and Human Life Commission of the Christ the King Parish, and CKC, Kubwa, Abuja, and is also an instructor for over 20 years. I think that is a very phenomenal experience you have gathered all the while. Sir, we're glad to have you, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
We have also with us Dr. Mrs. Callista Osuocha. Dr. Callista is a parishioner of St. Benedict's Parish, a Fab Estate, local Goma. And of course, she herself has also been an instructor for well over 45 years. Madam, we're glad to have you.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you for joining us
today.
Thank you.
Now, I want to begin our discussion with Mr. Daniel. Sir, you know, the pre-marriage course is a necessary condition and part of the marriage processes as far as the Catholic Church is concerned. Why do you consider this very important and necessary?
Thank you very much. Yeah, for the engaged couples, the pre-marriage class is very, very important because at the pre-marriage class, the pre-marriage class presents a unique opportunity where the engaged couples are appropriately informed of what it takes to be in a Christian marriage relationship. They need to know the teaching, the demands of marriage. They need to know the teaching of the church as far as marriage is concerned. They also need for them to know the implication of marital vows, and then the necessary skills required for them to be able to live this marital vow in a Christian marriage. So it's very, very important that they go through it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam, you may want to have another perspective to it, and maybe what constitutes an overview of these pre-marriage courses that is done in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, basically the pre-marriage course provides opportunity for the young couple to have a Christian understanding of the institution of marriage. It provides them an opportunity to also understand that being married is not just a secular issue. It is a vocation. Marriage in itself is a vocation. It's a call, and you need to live out your Christian life in marriage. So for young people who might just see it as, fulfilling a social value, it provides them an opportunity to understand that it's in their marriage they will live out their Christian calling, and it is in their marriage they will either make heaven or hell. So it provides them that opportunity to understand how to live their Christian life, have a happy home, and make heaven, which is the ultimate destination of every Christian. So that is why, for me, pre-marriage course is a very unique opportunity for young people who are privileged to undertake it.
So fundamentally, marriage should lead couples to heaven.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So, both of you mentioned young couples in your explanation of the marriage course. Young couples who are intending to enter into the union of sacramental marriage. But is the marriage course only for young couples? Supposing there are people who, for example, have lived together for some time, and they're not exactly young. Well, except if you mean young in the sense of the young in marriage. If you could help us understand this concept of young, Mr. Achimugu.
Well, young couples basically means those one intending to enter into marriage. Let me use the word afresh. Now, for those couple you are talking about, are those we call the cohabiting couple, somebody who has entered into marriage through their traditional, either through traditional marriage or court marriage, and then later they want to become, they want to receive the sacrament of matrimony. Yes. Of course, the pre-marriage class is also very necessary for them, because it is very, very important that they understand the faith in which they want to be married into. Because, like Madam said, it is this faith they are going to live in their marital life. So they also need to be, to be taught. They also need to go through the pre-marriage class, because it's very, very important.
Okay. Now I'm sure this concept of pre means before
marriage, yes,
makes it open to the fact that those who are intending to
yes.
go into marriage,
yes.
and all of that. So are there possibilities that even people who are already married should be advised to revisit some of those courses or classes when they are going on in parishes?
That is for those who are not coming to wed. Yeah. I want to, he asked a question about, we are talking about young people. What about already people who are in marriage at a certain level, maybe traditionally coming to wed, and then you are talking about those already existing. So there are two.
Marriage has been sacramentalized.
Okay, so let me answer it from those two perspectives. From the perspective the Father Ame raised. For me, for those who have been existing in marriage, maybe customarily or by civil law, and they now want to have their marriage blessed in the church, I think that the marriage course is also very important for them, because there are certain understanding that may have. I mean, there is no marriage that is without issue. One, going through the marriage course could give them the opportunity of maybe seeing some of the loopholes in their current marriage and then address it moving forward. And also, the marriage course is also interactive. Maybe in the course of the marriage course, they could also share from their experience where they may have made one or two errors, and they could share with the younger people, and they could learn from. So the use of the word young is basically because it is expected that it's only the younger ones that start out. So that does not exclude that are coming in. So us using that word young is because the bulk of what you see in the marriage course are the youth. But that does not exclude older couple from attending the premarital course. So from the perspective of what you're saying, the people who are already in a sacramental marriage,
like yourself,
absolutely, like I just mentioned earlier, I mean, there are issues, and like I think it was Father Nobel was saying, or somebody in the course of the day has mentioned that the most challenge is the people priests face in the parish is the challenge of marriage problems. So that means that the church needs to provide a platform for continuing education of married people. Training and retraining. If it is in our world, you say you train, you retrain. So the aspect of those who are already sacramentally in marriage is a case of training and retraining them on the tenets of Christian marriage, so that where they are losing sight or where they are making errors, they can relearn and improve on their
training and retraining. I guess you are talking from the perspective of civil service. For us as clergy, we say ongoing formation.
Exactly.
So even for the priest, you still continue to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, in the case of married people, there's also what we call marriage enrichment programs. Those are marriage seminars, workshops, and the rest of them, where they can share experiences, and then for married couples, and then learn one or two things, and exactly.
Now let me ask, statutorily, how long should this pre-marriage course last? Some places it is 3 months, 12 weeks. Some places it is a little more. Some places it is less. Is there a specific duration, Mrs. Callista?
Yeah, averagely it's 3 months. Averagely it's 3 months. And I think in the Abuja Diocese, that is also the stipulated duration. So if there is need to add a little bit, then I guess that would be at the discretion of the parish priest.
Okay, on a need-to basis.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Now, are there persons who could be exempted from taking or going through this pre-marriage course? And if there are, under what conditions can such exemption be made? Let's have you with that, Mr. Achimugu.
Yes, there could be conditions under which some couples may be exempted from the marriage clause. For instance, there are older couples, maybe grandmothers, and who have been living in their traditional marriage, and then at a point in their life, they decided to have their marriage blessed in the church. Then those older couples who have grandchildren and their children have married all over, to put them through marriage class, I don't think is necessary. What they require at that time is to get the appropriate documentation in place, something like marriage banks and the rest of them, for the completion of the church record. And then just briefly, maybe within a week, address them as far as the sacramental marriage is concerned and what they are expected as they are going into that relationship. Because they have already been living their life all this while, except conversion occurred at this time. And so I think that's what it is. Those kind of couples don't need to go through the hog of 3 months marriage class.
Okay, so a very short class with them
suffices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Dr. Callista, now prior to engaging in marriage, what from your experience, interacting with young couples so far, and of course, being a marriage instructor, what in your opinion should young men and women be most abreast of to make the right decision of a life partner?
Well, we are Christians, and whatever we respond to, we look at it basically from the perspective of our Christian belief. So, for me, young people should be able to look at the faith of the individual they are going to, because it's very fundamental to making a good marriage.
We're talking about relationship with God.
Relationship
with God.
Yes, you need to know and understand your partner's personal relationship with God. That will be a guiding principle. Understand who you're marrying and understand how the person's thoughts and vision aligns with yours, because it takes two to tango. Two have to agree to move forward. So if you're entering a partner who sees life from a different perspective from you, of course, from onset, it's a marriage that is set for failure. So you need to be sure that you're compatible.
Of view of the
Yes,
marriage union.
yes. And you have to look at that compatibility in various components. You have your spiritual compatibility, you have your emotional compatibility, you have your
goals and aspirations,
sexual compatibility. So you really need to study your partner to understand that two of you are made, from the same or similar molds, and you could iron out your differences and move forward. And that is why in marriage class sometimes we tell the persons to sit back and look at, because everybody has, I forgot physical compatibility. You need to also be able to know that this individual is somebody I appreciate physically and I'll be proud of being seen with together. And so you need to look at all of those things and then basically ask yourself, can I tolerate this guy if the chips are down?
Good. Now, it is not just about waking up and going into marriage. A lot of factors need to always be considered, particularly by the young. Fundamental to all is the fact of complementarity and compatibility. So, we're going to leave it there as we proceed on a very short break. Go nowhere. It is still Everything Catholic.
Everything Catholic, a program that discusses anything and everything about the Catholic Church. Faith, doctrines, morals, canon law, church governance, papal documents, you name it. As long as it is Catholic, it shall be discussed. Join Father Ahmed Silvanus and Father Nebo Boniface, two priests passionate about teaching the true faith of the Catholic Church, as they host bishops, priests, religious and distinguished laymen and women to discuss and simplify the wealth of the Church's teachings. Everything Catholic, showing on Catholic television, CTV. Everything Catholic, teaching the faith.
Welcome back. It is still Everything Catholic with Reverend Father Boniface Nebo and Father Silvanus Ame, and we still have here with us discussing very seriously the demands of the married life, and particularly with focus on the importance of the pre-marriage courses. We have again with us Dr. Callista and Sir Daniel. Now, before we proceeded on the break, she left us with a very fundamental fact of the need to know, the one whom you are going to marry and be a friend to the person. We want to proceed first by asking Sir Daniel Achimugu, from your many years of experience of marriage, and very particularly teaching marriage course for over 20 years now, from shared experience with your students, what so far would you say are the demands and challenges of the married state and the young intending to marry?
Thank you. The young who are getting married today, they need to be serious about our faith. It looks like most of the attending couples coming to marriage class have little knowledge about the sacrament of holy matrimony. That is why the program or the courses we discussed at the marriage course has something to do with our faith. Like I said earlier, it is this our faith we're going to live in a matrimonial home. Then secondly, in the discernment process, the attention is always focused on the other person, the person I want to marry. But first of all, self-assessment is also very, very important.
Self-assessment.
Now, for instance, somebody is looking for a God-fearing girl, a hard-working girl to marry. Are you God-fearing? Are you God-fearing?
Yourself.
Are you hardworking? Those are some of the issues, because the attention is always on the other person. But self-assessment is also very fundamental, and then the knowledge of our faith and where you are going. Then secondly, you see, the intending couples sometimes are preoccupied with wedding preparation instead of marriage preparation. So those are some of the experiences we've had. And we tell them, look, wedding is just, for me, just about 4 hours. 2 hours at mass, 2 hours at reception. It is after that marriage begins. So we should concentrate on preparing for marriage, even though there's going to be wedding ceremony. So it's very, very important, because like Madam said, those qualities you are going to put up with the rest of your life. You should be very concerned about those things. Those are the relevant questions you need to ask during your discernment process, not just about the ceremony. So those are some of the things that we discuss extensively at the pre-marriage courses. It's very, very important.
Very good. Just to open it up, is there something you may want to add on this question?
Yeah, basically he has given the overview of the demands, and like we mentioned earlier, one critical demand of a marriage vocation is for the couple to understand that they have to live out their Christianity in their married life, because they are not called to be priests, they are not called to secular life, they are called to
witness to the faith in the marital state. Okay.
And they need to see that for them the vocation, the call of God on their life is to the married institution.
That's right.
And they have to meet up the demands by living that holy life, which so in their marriage life they have to respond to the call to holiness within marriage.
Okay.
Both of you have spoken much about teaching the faith and also the discernment process during the period of this pre-marriage course. What other components are there for this pre-marriage course during these weeks of preparation for marriage, apart from exposure to the Catholic faith and then the process of discernment, self-assessment, as Achimugu said, and then also getting to know your partner, as you, Mrs. Callista, mentioned? What other components are there
make up this course
that make up this pre-marriage course?
There are very many different aspects.
Okay.
We also talk about the financial management in a home. And for those of us who have been married for long and looking at the society, finances are a very critical issue in the success of a marriage. So marriage course constitutes a discussion. One of the topics is how to manage your finances We also talk about home management. How do you manage the home? As Christian couples, what are the responsibilities of the man? What's the responsibility of the woman? So that's some additional, component of the marriage course. And we also look at birth control. How do you, the church teaches, family planning. Okay. So family planning is also discussed within, the natural means of, so those are some of the other aspects of what is taught during the pre-marriage course.
You want to add something?
Yes, there's also this assessment of a readiness for marriage. Now, we also look at family values, where you are coming from, the family of origin, what are the values you hold. And today, some of the engaged couples are also career, women, and so how do you relate your career and your marriage? Because there must be harmony. Yes. Now, we also look at the effective communication in marriage and conflict resolution. Now, there is also, as part of the component. Then some of the common problems in marriages are highlighted and how to go about them when they present themselves. So those are also very fundamental. And like I say, the national family planning is a very serious, part of the preparation. Because today a lot of people have gone into these artificial, contraceptives and the rest of them, which the church does not allow. So the need for national family planning to be taught in depth in the pre-marriage class is also very fundamental, and a lot more.
So, when we talk about the pre-marriage course, sometimes it's as though it ends with marriage. Once the marriage is celebrated, that's the end of it. Like we talk about training, ongoing formation, and all of that, and the need for seminars and workshops. There's something very key you mentioned: compatibility with your partner. And there are lots of factors that will play out in assessing this compatibility. But one very important one is physical compatibility. To a large extent, we see people, their first focus naturally is the appearance of the person. Someone once said, no matter how spiritual a man is, his first attraction to a woman is her appearance, which is quite true. It is quite true. Now, this physical compatibility, we have also seen from experience working as priests that with time, it begins to wane. That attractiveness begins to wane. You also, during the course of the process, this pre-marriage course, teach something about how to sustain those different levels of compatibility. Is it something also that is done within the framework of the marriage course?
Okay. Yes, you might not have it as a standalone topic, but it comes in as part of the teaching in some of the subtopics. It can come in, in terms of the demands and challenges. It can also come in when you're discussing the causes of broken home and things like that. So yes, it's like there's something I used to challenge the young people to try and do, so that they can look beyond the physical and look at later. We tell them to go back and look at your spouse thoroughly. Look for 10 things you like about your spouse, and that goes beyond the physical. The attitudes, the ways of doing things, So try to identify for yourself about 5 or 10 things you appreciate in your partner, and also look at 5 to 10 things that you don't like, that you have to deal with. So you need to begin to let them understand that they are beyond the physical. Who is that individual? In my Igbo parlance, they will say that for a woman, your beauty is in your character. So you also need to look at that character. Does the person has the character that will sustain a home? So in the euphoria of love at that beginning, the premarital course tries to bring them down to the reality. That beyond the euphoria, what happens? So yes. So look at that individual beyond the euphoria and identify those critical things that you do not like so much, bearing in mind that it's very difficult to change a person. Sure. So you don't enter the marriage believing that, oh, I don't like this, so I will change him. Look at it, okay, assuming this persists, how will I cope with it? How do I manage? How do I sustain my marriage in the midst of those deficiencies?
Good, good. That is very interesting. Thank you very much. While she was actually talking, she made reference to, the brokenness of many marriages today. Sir Daniel Achimugu, what, in your opinion as well, and teachings so far, would you say constitute the reasons for these issues of brokenness, or that leads to this brokenness in marriages, and how can they be remedied? Solutions.
Thank you. Yes, one of the challenges is the secular view of marriage that so many people have imbibed today, instead of the Christian view of marriage. You see, the marriage, the world and the church cannot move together. And so we tend to look at Christian marriage in the secular view. It's one of the problems. Then the beginning, some of these problems start from the beginning, like this discernment process I was talking about. Today we are very fond of what they call dating. All right, this dating, as far as I'm concerned, is people date for recreation. Because if you must date for a purpose. But most dating that brought some of these engaged couples to Christ is for recreation. Now, sometimes their parents are not even involved in the discernment process, and they get carried away by this "I love you" and that kind of a thing. And the love that holds marriage is not this type of love that, okay, if I don't see you, I won't be able to sleep. That can't hold marriage. The love that holds marriage is a decision. And for you to take that decision, the critical assessment, the critical assessment, like Madam mentioned, needs to come into place. What are the weaknesses? What are the strengths? How can you help him to overcome some of the weaknesses you have observed? And if you discover that some of these weaknesses you cannot put up with the rest of your life, I advise you to find your level. Because the marriage class also does two things. First, after going through it, we expect you to be happy in your marriage. And then the second one is to prevent a bad marriage from happening. So those are very fundamental. So it has something to do with how we start dating and what we are looking for. Like I said, there are some people who don't even know why they are getting into marriage. They want to get married because their friends or their colleagues, their classmates have gotten married. That is not good reason. Do you love the person you want to spend the rest of your life with? And this love is not about, because you are not here, so I'm not comfortable. That's not.
Good.
Right? So it's a decision.
Okay, this is how much you can take today on this episode, and it has been very interesting with Sir Daniel Achimugu as well as Dr. Mrs. Callista Osuocha. Now, he leaves us with four fundamental facts. You must be very intentional in love. Yes. Have a purposeful dating. And coming to marriage course, there is no need to cut corners. Yes. Because it is intended for purposes. Number one, that you are happy in marriage, and of course, that you remain married for that same purpose. It is on this note we are leaving you. Till we see you next week on this same program, Everything Catholic. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and do follow us on all our social media platforms. Bring forth your concerns, suggestions to better work with you, and don't forget to reach out to us to help us to keep this program running on air by your sponsorships and adverts. I am Reverend Father Boniface Nebo, signing out alongside my brother,
Father Silvanus. Amen. Do have a blessed day.
God bless you.